So I will say that I had some anxiety leading up to the event. I was like, am I ready to come back out? My garden has never looked better.
Not ready to bit.
Yeah, but yeah, I thought, I'm fully vaccinated and we've got to do this at some point, so let me just step back out. And I will say that while it does take some getting used to being back out in front of people, it's really nice. It's been nice to see people's faces and just like make that human connection again. I did end up making a lot of friends on Twitch, as I know that you're familiar with as well, during the pandemic, and that was a nice bridge to humanity. But there's no substitute for actually being in the same area with people and looking at them. I did get to meet somebody from my Twitch stream in person at this con, and he just like put his phone up at his screen name, and I'm like, oh my god, it's Keith Ryan Gaming, I know you from Twitch. So it's been fun to make these virtual connections that I've made over the pandemic and bring them into real life connections.
Was Twitch something you started doing during this pandemic then? You weren't doing it before?
Yeah, so I am if any of you follow me on social media, I'm like, I get in the groove and I post and then I'm just like, I get out of the habit and I'll go dark. Don't worry, I'm okay when I go dark. I just forget and I'll just get out of the habit of posting. But so Paige, you guys all know, it was twitching a lot and I kept getting these announcements. And I was like, so I call her, we're just catching up. I'm like, what are these announcements I keep getting? She's like, girl, it's the internet only nice. Like people are nice on Twitch. And I was like, well, I don't know, people are always mean and I get turned off to people, just a stranger coming in and telling me that I suck. I'm like, I'm not into that. She's like, it's not like that. People are nice and they just want to hang out. It's a very supportive community. And because they're subscribers, they can just pay and insult you and you kick them off forever and you'll never see them again. So it's kind of the best.
For anyone who hasn't seen one of your Twitch streams, what do you typically do?
So I didn't do Twitch for a while because I thought of it as just a gaming site, and I'm not a huge gamer, and if I am, I'm like, we're talking Street Fighter, Super Mario Brothers, like I got into Among Us because it's simple, and, but I was like, well, I'm not a gamer, so probably Twitch isn't for me, and then people were like, no, there's all kinds of, it's like, especially during pandemic, they're like, there's chefs on there, there's comics on there, there's artists, and so I intended to maybe try some more gaming, but what I found that I liked the most was just connecting with people and just basically doing an Instagram live. We're in a hype train, by the way, guys. I see you over there with your hype train. And so just like that, like the lingo, I would call it the clubhouse. So like, because you just chat like this really informally, so you end up with all these personal jokes with your community. And that was really fun. And if some of you guys have followed me for a long time, sometimes the fans aren't so nice to me. And so to rewrite my relationship with the fans via Comic Cons and via an online community that is supportive has been really good for me and for my mind and for being able to appreciate my career in a way when people are being complimentary about it. I mean, and we're honest, it's like I don't need rose-colored glasses, but just to be nice is appreciative.
Totally understand that. That actually leads to another question I had for you was the effect of social media on wrestling and wrestlers. I think I see some of the worst people in the universe in the comments of female wrestlers, especially on Instagram. How do you think that would have affected you when you were still wrestling?
Yeah, so I've been asked this before. Social media was not a big thing when I was wrestling, and I always say that I would have probably been fired because of just it's like you can separate and go, okay, this person's just a hater, like don't respond to them, don't feed into it, but then the fight or flight in you is like, no, screw that. Like, you can't talk to me like that. I want to tell you that that was wrong. And so I probably would have told them they were wrong, or just even that, like, to step out of the professional wrestling persona, been like, hey, that hurt my feelings. Like, I know that's not tough to say, and I can have a wittier retort that the internet would think is cooler, but bottom line is, like, that hurts my feelings, and I don't appreciate you not thinking twice about the human being that you're just going to say this thing to, while I'm just being me. If I'm in the ring and I'm a heel and you're yelling at me, cool. Now, I'm just a person and I'm trying to go to bed and I'm just scrolling, and now I'm not going to go to bed because I'm anxious reading this person and I'm thinking about this mean person before I go to bed, going, why did they say that? Is that true? And it's like, that's just human nature, right? There'll be 20 nice comments and one bad one, and for some reason, we get that bad one stuck in our head, and even though you can separate it logically and go, that's okay, I know they're just a hater, or they're for whatever, whatever the reasons were, but you still, like, it sticks with you in a way that is not cool, so.
Well, I think we all know how amazing you are, and you are cited as inspiration for so many of the women wrestlers now. Like, how does that feel to you? Like, is there anyone that really stands out to you on the, on the other side?
Yeah, that's been so cool. And I think it took a little bit, right? So Trish and I were having our feud. We had our main event match. Had no idea that women that are now currently wrestling would be citing that moment all these years later as inspiration to want to follow and have a similar career path, because there was a gap, right? Because they were younger, they saw that match and then had to go start training, had to figure it out and get there. So there was this gap where it was like, we wrestled, we did our thing, we retired, life carried on. And then here comes Bailey, and here comes Sasha, and here comes Becky, and here comes Charlotte. These people that are like, yeah, I watched Trish and Lita, and I wanted to do that. And I think it kind of sunk in a little bit more because there wasn't the social media, and there wasn't to see some of the level of impact that you had when you kind of reduce it a lot of times to like, oh, I just had this fun job where I got to fight people for, but it's like, well, it was more than that.
At the time, you're not seeing the impact on like the 10-year-old girls that are
exactly.
watching.
Now our 20-year-old girls and training to be professional wrestlers, or just training and pursuing their career path that they were inspired by somebody going, hey, this person is not following the status quo. I don't have to follow the status quo. I'm going to go do literally whatever I want.
I think one of the things that I seem to notice about you is like when you're interested in something or inspired by something, you seem to like really want to dive into it and really learn about it. Like was gardening one of those things for you? Or
oh my gosh, that's so funny. Yes, I'm for sure a very just a curious person by nature. So if somebody is just passionate about whatever it is they are, I'm like, tell me more about welding or what, like I ended up, that happened, and then next thing I know, I'm at a community college taking a welding class because I'm like, cool, I want to know everything about welding now. And so yeah, with gardening, it was very much, all right, I guess we can't be around people. There's a backyard that I never had a chance to spend any time in, and got into it. First, it was like a big cleaning out process, but then it became like, now I'm on like numerous gardening forums. I have an app on my phone that tells me not only what a plant is, but if it doesn't look great, how to make it better, if it's missing nitrogen, if it's missing magnesium, what I need to do, and also what plants are poisonous to my friend here to make sure I don't have any of that in the garden. So yeah, I definitely am like, I love, and wrestling lended itself to that. I love for no 2 days to be alike. I love to continue learning and just to not put parameters on what my life looks like. So I don't ever want to feel like I table off. You always want to keep learning, and I always say I want to die the best person I can be. So in theory, you're like continuing to be a better person every single day. The more you learn, the more you can get other people's life perspective, the more you can be engaged in your community, just different ways that you can just continue to grow.
Are there a couple of those things, kind of bucket list items that you're looking to knock out next?
Gosh, I mean, one thing we traveled so much for wrestling, but then after I retired, I really liked I called it like take back traveling, because we would see airports, hotels, and arenas, and there'd be all this amazing culture just on the other side, right? But we wouldn't get a chance oftentimes because we have to fly in and out. So I did a lot of traveling after I retired, and would just, I would love meeting somebody from that town, and they go, gosh, I haven't even done half these things that you did in your short time here. So I've done a lot of traveling, and there's some places, like I haven't been to India, I haven't been to Thailand, so I want to go to those places. Of course, I always appreciated my trips, but being locked at home made me appreciate traveling more. Even just last night, I'm staying in downtown Tacoma, and I put in 20,000 steps, just wanted to crash course. I wanted to look at every building, everywhere, and just kind of soak in where I am. If this was happening, we would all be getting from here, going straight to the roller coasters and riding all of the roller coasters. It would be mandatory after the panel, but you guys are off the hook for today.
I want to turn it over. I think David had a couple questions he wanted to ask you.
Yeah, when you were starting your training, there wasn't a performance center. I know you were trained by Dory Funk and Ricky Santana. How different was it for you? I mean, I've heard you only get like 10, 15 minutes in the ring, where these ladies get an opportunity to train for months, sometimes years before they get in the ring.
Yeah, it's for sure a much different system. One thing that was, I think, beneficial for me, because there wasn't a facility handed to me, it was get whatever information and knowledge you could get, and wherever you could get it. So every show I went to, I would ask everyone in the locker room, where else do you work? Where else are you booked? I was so annoying. I would just show up for free, and I would just show, because I'm just like, get me in the door. Else, if you need me to set up the rig, if you need me to keep time, I'll ring the bell, do interviews, I'll manage, I'll wrestle, I'll do, just please let me in the building. And so some of the wrestlers didn't like that, because they're like, you gotta get your booking fee, and I'm like, I gotta get my foot in the door, that's what I need to do. And funny side note here, do you guys remember Serena Deeb? She was with Straight Edge Society, then on the Mae Young Classic, was training at the Performance Center, now is training over at AEW, NWM, anyways, we know who she is. She would come to my autograph sessions as a child and say, I want to wrestle, what do I do? And I said, and at that time, the AAA league, the training facility was an OVW. And I said, show up at OVW and hang out outside until they let you in the building. I said, just keep showing up until they let you in, and then go from there. And that's what she did, and then she became a name that all of you nodded that I asked. So yeah, that was my MO. Wrestling was just to go everywhere, and because of that, I think that it was interesting because I could get everyone's perspective on wrestling, not just this core group of very talented trainers that they have over at the PC, but it's just like you're kind of limited to just their knowledge because you're in that system, as opposed to I was just like picking up bits and pieces of information about the business. Literally anybody that would talk to me that had been in the business one day longer than me, I'm like, tell me everything you know. I need to go back and make an apology list to everybody that I just annoyed, just demanding the secrets of the business from.
So back then also, we had a lot of different women's matches that were taking place. How hard was it to convince Vince McMahon to get you to do a traditional match?
And by different, you mean?
Mud wrestling.
Mud, bronze
Pillow
panties.
fights, yeah.
Yeah, they were different kind of matches at that point.
It was a channel turner for me, honestly.
Yeah, you know, I think that Trish and I talk about this. We were really at a point of transition in how women were viewed, so we kind of had to walk both sides. And we always say that it was like we were playing ball when we had to partake in some of the different sort of ways that women were portrayed, so that we could also have matches with Dean Malenko and Spike Dudley and intergender matches with TNA and for me to be involved in the ladder matches. And I think the great thing about coming in when I did in the Attitude Era was there were no rules. Anything goes, so you could throw out crazy things like, I don't know, why doesn't Rhino gore me in this match? And why don't, and there's no like, that can't happen. It's like, sure it can. This is the Attitude Era. We don't have rules, and we want you to go, wait a minute. We want the people at home to go, that can't happen. And it's like, but it just did. And that's why you're going to tune in next week. So I think being in that pocket helped not only me, but it also helped to kind of push us out of the arm wrestling, the different matches.
So you made a return in 2018, and what I honestly, I've watched every Royal Rumble there is. 2018 Royal Rumble, the first women's one, it was amazing. So what was it like to come back to that? And wrestle with some of the people that you just talked about, who have come to you and said, hey, you're my inspiration.
Yeah, so I had heard rumblings of there being a women's Royal Rumble for a really long time, but my general go-to personality is like, say it's not gonna happen and be pleasantly surprised, as opposed to like, oh, this is happening, and it doesn't, and then you're just bummed. So I was like, I heard the rumors, but I was like, yeah, I don't know, we'll see. We'll see if it ever happens. So to protect myself, because I really wanted it to happen. And I was called, I think, like a few days before the Rumble. So, and I had an appearance the night before on the opposite coast. So I took a red eye, and I got there, and I was like, okay, I have to touch the ring. I have to get in here. I haven't touched a ring since I don't know how long. They're like, oh, no. We've got to go make sure your neck is okay, so you've got to go to the doctor. Great. I need to get, they're like, we just want to be safe. I'm like, safe? Like, I want to get in the ring to make sure I can safely remember how to wrestle. For the safety of my ego, I need to make sure I don't make a fool of myself out there. So when you guys saw me enter and slide into the ring, that was the first time I was touching a ring since the last time you saw me there. That moonsault that they like switched camera angles, because as I was climbing, it was like, I had a terrified look on my face, because I was like, is this the stupidest thing I've ever done? We're about to find out. And I was like, hold my breath, cross my fingers, and then when I felt Sasha and Becky, I was like, oh my God, thank God. No, it was a crazy thing, but not the stupidest thing I've done for sure, because here we are, safe, stacked moonsault, and then so I had the first elimination of the first women's Royal Rumble. I eliminated Tamina. And then I had Becky eliminate me. So I love that girl. But so as kind of crazy and chaotic as it was leading up to it, it was such a special moment that I am so glad and thankful to be part of. The energy on the other side of the curtain, everybody would go in and do their spot. As soon as they get eliminated, they would come right back around and stand up in gorilla, and it was just sold out gorilla position, everybody shoulder to shoulder. And then when it was counting down, we were all in gorilla, 3, 2, 1, go, 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 you know, like cheering on the person that was about to go out, and that is not, I haven't felt that unity and with that many women in one room in my entire wrestling career. So just standing in there, that it was, I would say that, I mean, that was my personal highlight, was just feeling that and everyone together. It was cool.
That's amazing. Do you want to open it up to any questions? How do you want to do that?
Yeah, if anybody has any questions, just raise your hand. I'll come by and put the mic in front of you.
Okay. Michelle.
Oh, you know you want to.
Come on
It's
down.
gonna make me work for this. Oh, all right. I got it. Oh, all right, front row. Get my steps in. All right.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Hi.
Hi.
My name's Nick. This is my wife. She's been a big fan of you for a long time. I had a question. With all these wrestlers going into movies and becoming different action heroes and Star Wars and Marvel and DC, are there any characters that you would want to portray, or are you thinking about ever doing, like acting?
Yeah, I currently, I think that we should start a petition right now, all you guys here on Twitch and you guys. I feel like I should be in The Mandalorian, right? There's totally a spot for me there. It has a lot of ass-kicking women on there. When I saw Gina Carano was no longer going to be on the show, I was like, but I can do that. So I think it just looks fun too. It's like watching a movie, but in series form. They really made a special show with that, and so I think it would be awesome.
That would be awesome to see on the menu. Are you a Star Wars fan? Or?
I am. It was a really long time. I had only seen the 3, and I kind of the original, and I just kind of stuck by that. And then, of course, pandemic came, and we were like, what have I not watched? And caught up on some of the other. I'd watched Mandalorian when it came out, which then renewed my interest in going, okay, it's time to let's visit some of these later episodes now and dig through all of that. So yeah, it's been fun. It's fun when it's been available for you for so long, but to still have it feel new to you is refreshing and exciting.
Yeah, that's great.
Oh, back. Gotcha.
Who's your favorite current wrestler? Who are you most impressed with?
Can I, while you still have the mic, can you tell me yours first?
Nikki Ash.
All right, nice. So I liked Toni Storm and Rhea Ripley. I think they're both pretty awesome. I think, is she going by Viper now or Piper Niven? Fan of hers. Becky Bianca. I like what I've seen from Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker over at AEW as well. There's wrestler Red Velvet over there, Statlander. Who else is there? I've been watching a ton of wrestling recently. There's a woman named Kylan King. I think she's awesome. I think she's a name that you'll see in the future more of. But yeah, I think that's my sleeper candidate for you guys.
So if you had to do your dream match that you would have, whether it's Wendy Richter, Fabulous Moolah in their prime, somebody today, who would that match be with besides Trish?
Okay. I had it until you said besides Trish. Let me just. I'll answer your question, but let me just say until you said that, I had me and Trish versus Luna and Chyna. Okay, so that would be a dream match. And then if you just say it could be anyone, I'd like to do a 4 corners match. I'm making this up as it's coming out. So, okay, I'd like to do a 4 corners match with me, Becky, Awesome Kong, and Io Shirai. So if you can book that.
I'll get right on that. Any question? All right.
So, okay, you made me lose my place.
Let me just tell you, this is my life. I'll be like, I have a question, hold on, I forgot it.
Well, yeah. Darn, I flipped that out of my head. That's crazy.
We'll come back to you.
Okay.
I can hear you too, so you can,
Well,
you
yeah,
don't even need the
yeah.
microphone
Yeah.
when it comes to it.
What do you think about the rise of AEW and these other promotion companies?
Yeah, it's been really interesting to see because especially I was working for WWE at the end of WCW when it became absorbed into WWE, and for so long, for a while, I won't say for so long, it was just WWE, and then TNA / now Impact came up, and then that was really exciting, and then then they kind of became smaller, and then it kind of felt again more like a one-man show for a while. So then to have AEW come up and feel like it's on the rise, and to see people that I know aren't WWE guys, according to the people that get that do the hiring, get a chance to have a platform, and it's cool, and it's cool to see people that I know come into their own and have a different kind of platform. And like AEW is more of a different style of wrestling too. It feels more like an ECW, WCW kind of hybrid, and so it's like there's room for both. And there's and so I love seeing like potentially a platform that could go the long haul, and it doesn't have to just be a one-man show.
Do you have any interest at all? And forgive me if you have, and I just don't know, but like working behind the scenes with any of these companies, like.
Yeah, I worked behind the scenes with WWE after Tough Enough. So I did Tough Enough post Hall of Fame, and then that led to doing some coaching with WWE, and it was really nice for me because the transition from NXT, because as you mentioned, they're the PC every day, and they're right kind of. At the time, it wasn't live TV, so it could be a really a good protected way for people that didn't have as much experience to start. And then they're producing these great matches, and then they're like, great, you're heading up to live TV now, and can be an intimidating transition. So I really liked working behind the scenes, helping to get people feel comfortable from not live TV to live TV, and watching confidence grow with Sasha and Charlotte and Becky, and working with some of the women. It was really nice because when you're full time, you don't really have time to think about what everyone else is doing because you're focused on yourself. So to be back behind the scenes and be able to kind of focus on everyone, it was a nice perspective.
Okay, I remember.
Okay, got it.
So you have a favorite road story or rib story you can tell us?
People ask about these rib stories, me and Trish, all the time, and we say that we need to come up with one because I don't think the women really played ribs on each other. I think that was like a dude thing to do. And as much as we tried to be one of the boys, it did not include padlocking anybody's bag to the ceiling or the various other things that happened. Road stories, I mean, at the very end, Trish and I both knew we were going to retire, and we spent a lot of time making time to do things outside the hotel, arena, and airport. We said, we don't know when we're going to be traveling again together, so let's try to make the most of it. And we just had this 6-month period where we were like, go to Graceland, go to the Alamo, go to Niagara Falls, and like anytime we were placed. And so that was a really fun time for both of us. But the G6, by the way, getting a low notification.
That's right here.
Mine is kind of along the same lines. When you're not wrestling, what do you like to do?
This is another good question. I remember doing interviews when I was wrestling full time, going, okay, you're gonna get asked about what you do outside of wrestling, so what should you make up? Because I did literally nothing besides train, prepare my food, go to the gym, watch other wrestling, watch my matches back, go over merch ideas, and I think that was the thing that leads to burnout, right? And that's the thing that, you know, it's like to have a full career in under 10 years because it's not a sustainable pace. People would always say, oh, when is your time off? And I would say, well, I hope never, because that would mean I'm injured. So I lost me outside of wrestling during wrestling. And when I watch people like maintain their interests and likes, I always make it a point. I'm like, this is very important. I didn't do this, and I had to relearn, like, oh, going to shows and volunteering at the animal shelters and doing things that I like to do, and to find time for that to keep myself charged. So I did not do that when I was wrestling, and I do that now, and that is like a piece of advice I give to wrestlers. I'm like, I know the tendency is to go and be super focused so that you can get ahead, but it's equally as important to remember who you are and if only because if you're one injury away from never getting in the ring again, and if you have to go, oh my God, like now I don't have my everything, like that's traumatic, right?
What do you like to do with him or her?
Ken's, you have her like by my side at all times. She's been full time with me on the roads since I was on the road full time. She's 18 and a half years old. She is a locker room dog, con dog now. I apologize to Delta Airlines. I have snuck her onto so many flights. But yes, so because she's older now, maybe we just chill and cuddle, but yeah, I mean, she's my road dog and best friend, and just hanging out. When I was traveling a lot to Nicaragua, and at that time, she had all her commands in both Spanish and English, so teaching her new words was always a thing. I've seen on Instagram now, there's these dogs that can talk by pushing buttons. Her hearing's not really great, but she would have been great at that.
Can I ask one thing?
Yeah.
We came this weekend because it's my husband's birthday, and he wanted to see you guys.
To see what? Me and the Kens? But more the Kens.
To you and the Kens,
I'm
yeah.
sure a little more the Kens.
So if you wouldn't mind wishing him a happy birthday, I would really appreciate
But you have to look at me. Okay. Happy birthday. He's like, oh, no. Happy birthday to you. Thank you for coming to spend your weekend here. I appreciate it. And I appreciate everyone that took time to spend their time here.
that. Thank you.
All right, got another question back here?
What and who made you want to be a wrestler?
What and who made me want to be a wrestler? So before I was wrestling, I was taking judo. That was just my thing that I stepped away from when I was wrestling. I loved it. I competed nationally, and I also played in bands. And my boyfriend at the time was big into professional wrestling. I just didn't grow up with it. And when I started watching, I was like, whoa, this is like being a rock star and an athlete in one gig. And the wrestler that I saw that I really attached to was Rey Mysterio. So I got to meet him before, when I decided I wanted to be a wrestler, but before I started training, I got his autograph, and my license plate at the time said Ray Jr. 1. I showed him, I took it off my card and brought it into him, which I was like, look, this is my license plate. And I had my picture ripped from the magazine out that I brought with him, and he's super nice and signed it. And I'm so thankful that he was nice, because if he was mean, I might have been like, ugh, I don't want to do this thing that mean people do. So I appreciate that he was cool to me.
Okay, so So, including you, I think there's about a dozen women in the Hall of Fame. Who would you add this for?
China. Solo, China, by herself into the Hall of Fame. I would personally love to induct her. I don't know if many people knew, but she really took me under her wing. When we started, we were really close as she was leaving. It was a really hard time for her, and she was just really special. I don't know if any of you guys saw that Vice documentary. It was really hard to watch, and I just really wish that she would be celebrated and that we could forgive both sides, anybody, like any wrongdoing and any decisions she made in her life, and just let that go and really just focus on all of the amazing and powerful things that she did, not only in our industry, but just as a woman for inspiration everywhere, I think, and I think she deserves that.
Totally agree. Okay, any other big questions out there? Oh, okay.
Are you gonna go to any other Comic-Cons?
Any other Comic Cons? Some of you guys that I have seen this weekend met me at Emerald City in Seattle, and I am very thankful that my first Comic Con back is a little more chill, because if you guys have been there, it's like shoulder to shoulder, people, really chaotic. But yeah, I just said that I wanted to do one and make sure I felt comfortable being in the public, and it's been a nice reminder to like make eye contact with people and have these experiences. So yes, I look forward to doing them. I just want to make sure that we're all doing them safely and making sure we keep our neighbors and community and family and everybody safe while we're still having fun.
Oh, one last question. Yeah.
We got this, but
Yeah.
we're gonna take one more.
I guess we are done then.
This concludes the panel. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me. If you are not the public speaker type, please feel free to come over to my booth if you would like to give the Kens a pet. She's happy to receive those as well. Right from here, I am going to go do my photo op, so if you guys have those, I'll see you over there, and then right after that, I will go back to the booth to hang out there, so feel free to come by and say hey, and yeah, thank you for easing me back into in-person life. I appreciate it.
Where can people follow you on social media?
Thanks. I'm there sporadically. I'm Machete Girl on Instagram. My name is Amy Dumas on Twitter. And if you want to hang out on Twitch, we're super nice. There's really nice people over there that might become your real life friends. It's official Amy Dumas. And yeah, thank you guys
Thank you guys so much.